Welcome to the Lawtino podcast, where we amplify the voices of Latino professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders coming together to educate, inspire, and connect across one of the most dynamic binational regions in the world. Bicultural, premium, powerful.
Hey everyone, it's John Gomez. Welcome to another episode of the Lawtino podcast, where we discuss the intersection of law and our Latino communities. This episode, as always, is brought to you by your sponsor, Gomez Trial Attorneys. Gomez Trial Attorneys is a national and binational law firm representing plaintiffs in personal injury, employment, civil rights, mass torts, class action matters, equally in the English and Spanish languages. We serve clients from both sides of the border. And so today's guest is really special for us and a great addition to the program, and one that should have been with us a long time ago. But before we introduce him, I'm going to introduce our co-host, or my co-host, who again started off as a guest on this podcast and found his way here at the law firm as the director of our U.S. Mexico border practice. And, share some things in common with our guests. So I think today will be a good discussion. But welcome, as always, David. I know, you tell us, now you believe that maybe, the conversation we had here was a job interview, but I'm glad that you passed. I'm glad that you took the job.
Yeah, that's usually my intro after John says that I was a former guest. So I guess I passed it. I'm here. Excited to be the co-host with John, and excited for our guest today with who I know I'm probably going to have similarities from growing up in Mexico.
Well, why don't you go ahead and introduce our guest, and then we'll get started with the conversation with him.
Yes, of course. So today we have the privilege of having Adrian Martinez from Procopio, a binational international firm that's very well known in my, let's say, hometown of Tijuana, Mexico. We were just having a nice conversation before the podcast started of why Procopio became known as the to-go firm for businesses, and now he's expanding into litigation. So we wanna hear more about that. So Adrian, without further ado, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us about yourself.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you so much for inviting me. As I wrote to you guys in preparation for this podcast, this is my highlight, one of my highlights of the year. I'm a great fan of John Gomez and the law firm and his team. I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. So the fact that you invited me, it's humbling, it's honoring, and thank you for having me. As you mentioned, I'm licensed. I'm an attorney from Mexico. I was born in Mexico City, born and raised. That's when I went to law school, 5 years of law school, as you may recall, back in the 90s. And then on my last year of law school, there was this great female law professor who taught general U.S. law, talking about the U.S. legal system. And she mentioned that in California, like in other states, you had to take a bar exam, and the takers would write down their a number. Not in name, that would indicate their gender or
Yes.
race and whatnot, and that triggered my interest to come to practice in the U.S. We're talking about 1998 or so, but it was more like a dream. I didn't become very involved in finding all the requirements and so forth. I graduated from law school. Was first in my class, very fortunate, with the assistance of all my law professors and my classmates. And back then I was working at Notaría Pública número 56, number 56 in Mexico City. Great mentor. He, Licenciado Martinez suggested me to become a notario. I still had the idea of coming to the U.S., so I declined that very kind offer. And a friend of a friend of a friend mentioned that the Mexican consulate here in San Diego had a position open at the Departamento de Protección, the protection department at the consulate here in San Diego, and I applied for it, got the job. We could have another podcast to tell you the story of how, within minutes, there was a decision between staying in Mexico, working at Unilever, the legal department, or coming to the consulate. I came to work at the consulate, and I did that for a couple of years. Then I met who is now my wife. We've been married for almost 24 years. But I didn't have the resources to study master's program here in California. But I wanted to become licensed to practice law in California. So I met her, and she had finished her master's program at Cal Western. And what I noticed is that her classmates, foreign attorneys from South America, Mexico, Europe, had taken the bar exam, but nobody had passed it. So in my situation of necessity, right, of need, I concluded, well, if these people, very smart attorneys, went through the master's program and they didn't pass the bar, then you don't need to go through a master's program to pass the bar. So I just decided to take the bar exam. And
did you do a course?
Well, I did barbary.
Okay.
So someone, a guy, great guy, David Hodge. He just gave me his barbary books.
Oh wow!
And I started studying on my own. January 3rd of 2003. And so I was working at the consulate, and I was studying in the evenings and during the weekends and prepping up and whatnot. And I studied and work. And by then I was already married and took the bar and passed the bar. And that was
what a story.
That was my...
That's pretty impressive, because even people going to law school here, they don't pass.
A lot of, like half the people, right? Like half the people that take it don't pass.
And even
in California.
And even for foreign attorneys that are coming in, and for example, they do the LLM.
None of them pass. It sounds like
just like 8%,
very few.
7%.
I lead that class, Monica's class at California Western School, had trouble passing the bar. But again, that's a need, right? The need to succeed, and not the need for to progress is a fuel. It sometimes fuels your intensity in trying to achieve your goals, and that's what happened to me. And so I became licensed I was licensed in Mexico and California when I was like 27. Wow. And I thought I was going to rule the world and everybody was going to offer me a job. And it took me a year to get my first job.
Really?
Actually, as it is well known, I think, by some people, one of the law firms that rejected me was Procopio.
Oh.
And now I understand why. I think I understand why, or maybe I brainwashed myself to conclude why they rejected me back then. But it took me a year to get a job. And
so were you still working at the consulate?
Still working at the consulate, licensed in Mexico, licensed in California.
Oh, you were definitely a resource for them. We were actually at the Departamento de Protección, what was it, 3 weeks ago, talking to the team. Good team.
Right.
We want to do a little bit more work for them, maybe train them.
Right.
But that's awesome.
Well, and at the same time, I had passed the bar, but I didn't have any practice. Any experience, any experience. I passed the bar, but I didn't go through law school. So all the great knowledge that you acquire during law school, including skills, I didn't have those. So I have my license, and so it made sense. At least now it makes sense why some firms, including Procopio, were not eager to hire me under my circumstances. But I joined another firm, Branton Wilson, gave me my first opportunity. And my first area of the law that I helped with, I didn't necessarily practice, but help with, was personal injury.
Oh,
and
wow,
it was one of the most rewarding times, practicing law for me.
Yes.
Just helping. I'm in for the underdog. I consider myself an underdog, and I'm here for the people and all the little people, right? All of us are little people.
Yes.
Some behave like they're bigger, but they're not. And that was great. And I had an opportunity to work with Steve Wallman and had a couple of cases with Gene Iredale and
wow.
and Robert Hemperian, and I worked my way to learn the practice of personal injury, FTCA cases, and then at some point, Procopio learned that I was representing. We were representing the same clients in different areas. Procopio was representing the Mexican clients in business and tax matters, and I was representing them in litigation-related matters. One of my mentors in family law was Alex Cuoca, partner at Branton. So,
At that time, were your Mexican clients
yes,
coming from here locally or through your contacts in Mexico
City?
City?
They were coming, a mix of locally and some from Mexico City. And I joined Branton and Wilson in 2004. So I'm gonna say that from 2004 to 2008, my clientele, my clients were very limited. My number of clients, it was relying more on what the other partners brought in.
Right, of course.
But they were primarily from Baja California and Mexico City. And I had my first family law case, a cross-border case representing a gentleman who had been married in Tijuana and who was being divorced here in San Diego. We filed, it was my first motion to quash for lack of personal jurisdiction and foreign non-convenience, all that good stuff.
And so was your guy living up here at the time? Kind of, sort of.
No,
Not as
exactly.
soon as he hired you. You said go back to Tijuana.
He wasn't domiciled, right?
Yeah.
So he wasn't domiciled. That's one of the bases for personal jurisdiction.
Yeah.
He was physically present in California when he was served. That's another basis for personal jurisdiction.
Of course, yeah.
But we were able to persuade the trial court that the most convenient forum was Mexico. And the case got initially dismissed, but then by the Court of Appeal, partially reversed the trial court, and the case was stayed for 5 years.
Oh my gosh. That's a win for your side.
Yes, absolutely. And during those 5 years, the parties litigated jurisdiction in Mexico. They went all the way to the federal courts.
Do you get involved with those?
No.
No. Okay.
So once I started practicing law here in California, I was hands-off on practicing law in Mexico.
That's what I've heard before from other attorneys who are licensed in Mexico. They delegate that, but at least you have the understanding.
Right. Yeah, it does help. It does help to explain to the client in their own language and their own concepts, legal concepts, what is happening here in California in the proceedings with respect to discovery, that we don't have all of that and whatnot. And so going back to the story, to make it shorter, Procopio offered me to join them in 2008. My then firm countered by offering me to make partner. I made partner at that firm, and that firm ultimately dissolved in 2010. Procopio learned that I was becoming homeless and
Free agent.
Yes, free agent, and then offered me to join them, and I've been with Procopio since. My practice before I joined Procopio, I was doing some personal injury, helping Steve and other great attorneys like you, John. And once I joined Procopio, it turned more on family law and cross-border family law and cross-border business litigation, litigio mercantil, on this side of the border.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you've been there for a while. You must be pretty happy.
Yes, work is work, right? And a great people from staff. Our staff, I love our staff at Procopio, and I love my fellow partners and associates and everyone. So great group of people, and I'm happy there, as happy as I can be, and have a very robust support group and great people to work with. So yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting that your decision to maybe explore being a lawyer up here was prompted by this professor and her saying, like, you take the bar blind.
Yeah.
So you would just be a number. So I guess no one would kind of know who you were, where you were from.
And there's something behind that, and I feel like I'm gonna start confessing in public.
Give it up.
So
give it up.
yeah, it's probably I'll try to measure myself. No, so I think I was a good law student during law school.
Number one.
Well, according to the professors, right, who graded my exams, but I felt that I didn't get this opportunity to work at certain law firms, very prestigious law firms in Mexico City, because I didn't have the connections, or my family doesn't come from it's very prestigious and whatnot. If you know what I'm talking about,
Right, sure.
So, I mean, I was lucky enough to work with Notero 56 and other good attorneys, but I saw other classmates, very great guys and whatnot, maybe not as studious as others, that they got those opportunities, right? So maybe I'm projecting that I had a chip on my shoulder.
Yes.
Maybe that's what I had, right? And maybe I still have that. I don't know. But when she mentioned that in order to take the exam, you would have to give a number instead of, they wouldn't know your last name. That sounded to me equality,
Right.
An equal opportunity to become licensed, to practice law, regardless of the status of your family or of yourself, right?
So actual merit.
Actual merit. Yes, I believe in merit, and I believe in hard work and respect, and I'm not saying I didn't get that when I was in Mexico, but I mean that was what was in my mind and my experience. So that when she said that, I said that's the place I want to go. Wow. Because I'm going to be given a fair opportunity,
right,
to show myself.
Yeah, that was quite a leap of faith and confidence in yourself. And, they really do say, here is the land of opportunity. Anyone can do anything. I sometimes will talk about, we try to, we have some employees that are from Mexico or Colombia that live there, are very smart people, but it appears, like you said, that sometimes as smart as you are, whatever education you have, in some places a little more than here, maybe your future is more dependent upon who who your family is, what your family did, so maybe, for a very smart, studious, hardworking person, maybe without those family connections, maybe here's better.
Well, that's my experience. I mean, the moment I was able to become a permanent resident, that's what I did with my idea to become a U.S. citizen, and I'm a U.S. citizen, very proud. This is my country. I mean, I was born in Mexico. I'm also Mexican. Mm-hmm. But I mean, this is the country that gave me the opportunity to become, to achieve my personal and professional goals. I have 2 children. My wife, she's from Guadalajara, but we married here. And
similarities.
Okay.
There you go. Yep. Exactly. Beautiful women, very smart.
Yes.
Strong will.
Yeah.
And we'll leave it at that, because happy wives, happy lives. This was the land of opportunity. I don't see myself achieving what I have achieved through a lot of work, a lot of effort, in my hometown. Maybe who knows, right? Maybe I would have achieved more, whatnot. But I'm satisfied. I'm very happy. I'm very fortunate that I moved to the States, and I'm able to practice law in this fantastic legal system that has its flaws, because there's no perfect legal system and there's no perfect community. Nevertheless, I feel blessed.
Awesome.
And it seems like your background, from what you're telling me and telling us, from the beginning of your career to Procopio actually, getting you in the door, it seems like your background is what basically also, I mean, your knowledge of the law, but also your background, right? Cultural, They were assigning some of these Mexican national clients because of your knowledge of the Spanish language, the culture, and the law. And I don't know if you know, but John is on his way to be very knowledgeable about Mexican law. He's studying law at UNAM.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
La escuela de,
Sí,
de
señor.
Derecho en México.
And that's definitely an advantage, right?
Absolutely.
Language and culture.
Yes.
So I think that's definitely one of the advantages that you brought to your clients.
Yes, at the beginning of the, before we started the podcast, we're talking about Procopio and why Procopio's name is so prevalent in Mexico. It has a very robust international tax practice. I think right now we have not less than 10 attorneys who are licensed in Mexico and California, New York, and other states who practice on the area of taxation. And we participate in a lot of conferences in Mexico and whatnot, a lot of marketing, a lot of reach out to the community, and also inviting those professionals from Mexico also to speak here in San Diego and other venues in the States. And it is because of the language, the culture, is definitely a door opener from a personal and professional perspective. I tell my children to practice their Spanish. They were born here, they're raised here, and I have trouble persuading them to practice their Spanish, right? We only speak to them in Spanish at home, but it's a struggle, because the rest of their environment, for the most part, is in English. But for those listeners, one of the messages to the listeners, the younger listeners, is develop those language skills. To the extent you know another language other than English, keep practicing it. It will open more doors to you. And to the extent you already are able to communicate in a different language, maybe learn a third language, because it definitely makes a difference.
Especially here in San Diego, California.
Yeah.
We need it. Like John and I, we speak Spanish, and a lot of our clients are Spanish speaking. So we want to make sure that we speak their language so that we can understand what they're actually meaning or conveying.
There's more connection.
There is
a personal connection, right?
Yeah, without question. So talk about the family. You said you had kids. Is your wife practicing law, or what's she doing?
So my wife, she's currently working at USD, at the University of San Diego Law School, the graduate program. She's a graduate program coordinator.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and she went back to work outside of home last year.
So you are a guest lecturer there, right? Or
Yes, I'm a adjunct professor.
Yes.
Yeah, the master's in U.S. law in Spanish. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How is that? Because they're talking to David about maybe doing a little part of that.
I think that's a great opportunity. On the personal, for the professor, it's a great opportunity to continue developing your oral skills, right? Study, right? In order to teach, you have to study. You have to know what you're teaching about. So it's a good opportunity to refresh some of your knowledge, and also it's definitely a marketing tool. Yeah, a lot of people a lot of attorneys from Latin America get to know you, and they will think about you when there's a legal issue for one of their clients, a legal issue here in the U.S., and they'll reach out to you. That's what has happened to me. I taught that class, civil procedure, at California Western School of Law for 8 years. Then that program kind of transitioned to USD, and I restarted doing this, teaching that class last fall, and I love it. It's time consuming, but I think it's a great program. The professors are great, the faculty is great, and it's a win-win.
What are I'm just curious, like, what are the students in that program look like, and what are they trying to accomplish?
Well,
and this is the LLM in Spanish at now USD School of Law.
Right.
And that's what I find interesting, the fact that it's in Spanish. For example, the one that I'm, I guess, being sought out for is torts, right? So now
En español.
En español. So now I need to familiarize myself with a lot of the legal terms in Spanish.
And you're a native speaker.
Native speaker, but my law school was in the U.S.
No, of course.
All of my knowledge of law is in English.
Right.
So now it's going to be actually interesting because I'm going to be learning more about the terms in Spanish with actual legal terms.
To his point, like now though, you're going to be able to communicate those terms. Say you have a Mexican national, that has heard a little bit on the news or a little bit on the radio or a little bit here about lawsuits and torts. So they know these terms, and then they come and you have all these terms. You're speaking their language literally. So like, what does that class look like? Who are they? What are they trying to do?
The students are attorneys licensed in countries other than the U.S. who are Spanish speaking. The vast majority, I would say, are my class last year was from Venezuela, from Colombia, and Mexico.
Right.
I had a couple of students from Chile and Argentina. And I guess there is, my perception is that there's a mixed bag of why they're taking the program. Some of them want to become licensed in California, like me, right?
And you told them, hey, by the way, I didn't do this course. I didn't even take the barbary thing. I just looked through some old books, but I'm a genius.
I learned it right.
Actually, I'll say that because I don't want to dissuade the program, right? No, it's a great program, right? I mean, just full disclosure, had I had the money when I decided to take the bar, had I had the money to pay for the LM, I would have taken the LM. Yeah,
sure, of course.
Again.
Yes.
Right. So some of them want to become licensed in California or somewhere in the U.S. Some of them want the certificate because it's going to help them in their current position with the organization, law firm, whatever. And some others are just studios. I mean, and in my experience, those are very interesting people because they just want to learn more.
Right.
So they probably know far more than myself, but right, and most of us
intellectuals.
And I've seen.
No, not me.
I've
become very practical.
Yeah, both. But one of my first students many years ago in that program became a justice of the Argentine Supreme Court.
Oh wow!
Just to give you an idea, right? And another student that I had he's a PhD, a doctor in law in Mexico.
Wow!
Super well known.
Oh wow! That's fun.
It's Peña Breseño, so and you get the younger crowd. So it's a good mix of people with different goals, with different ideas, but all for the most part, I would say, all interested in learning about the U.S. legal system.
Right.
Yeah.
How do they find the program? I mean, first of all, it's a great advantage that you're teaching that class because you made that decision, right, to move to the U.S. But how do they find you, or how do they find the specific program in San Diego, for example, at USD?
Yeah, I think they do a lot of marketing with bar organizations and law organizations. The USD does a lot of marketing of those programs, reach out to those organizations in those countries to promote the program. That's my understanding. Maybe you guys will invite Karen Sigmund, the vice dean, to speak more about the program.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But that's my understanding. Yeah.
And so, how it sounds, was it prior to you getting over to Procopio that Procopio was already trying to develop this cross-border practice, this international practice with a focus on Latin America?
Yeah. I think Procopio hired the first attorney license in Mexico and California, maybe, I want to say, 7 years before I joined them. So we're talking about in the early 2000s.
Okay.
But it was only in the practice of tax law, because back then one of the Patrick Martin. Patrick Martin, he a tax attorney. He had the idea of reaching out to that market, the Mexican market. I believe he, and don't quote
Yes.
me, and I may have these facts wrong, but my understanding is that Patrick studied at least 1 year at Escuela Libre de Derecho in Mexico City.
Okay.
And he learned, okay, there's a market.
Yes.
And then he hired the first attorney licensed in Mexico to practice in international tax. And that multiplied like the gremlins, right? He more attorneys more tax attorneys licensed in Mexico and California kept joining Procopio. And there was a point, 2008, where I was doing my thing on representing clients from Mexico in family law disputes and commercial, business litigation, who were also clients of Procopio for tax matters.
Right.
So that's, I guess, when they decided, hey, why are we not joining forces?
Yes.
And why don't we bring Adrian to serve the same client that he's already serving at another law firm, with us at Procopio? I think that's kind of the what happened. And then Procopio has been expanding on that recruiting of non-dual license non-tax attorneys from Mexico in the corporate area. Juan Arau and Andrea Sanchez Tapia, great colleagues. They're not tax attorneys. They do corporate practice in the corporate law arena, and that they're part of Procopio. And so I guess it's multiplying different areas of practicing in Procopio. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I, at some point in time, worked at Latham & Watkins, and the idea was a firm like that, a larger firm, once you get a client, a corporate client or, a high net worth or client, you want to be able to provide them services across the legal spectrum. You don't want them going across the street for, their trust and estate, whatever, their tax issues, because then, they might be real happy with that person and they might steal them.
Right.
And so if you can have kind of one-stop shop,
in-house.
that is the way to do it.
Yeah, I think that was the idea of when they decided to invite me to Procopio, and that has been the plan. There's not a lot of dual license litigators.
No.
You see more dual license tax, corporate, estate planning attorneys, and it's because maybe I don't know why is that.
Well,
what's your opinion, John?
Well, because like for me personally, it wouldn't really make sense for me to try to litigate a case in Mexico. To me, the system we have here is much better for what I do. If I was defending a large sort of corporate, interest, I might want to drag that litigation down to Mexico and
Right.
get it slowed down a bit. Maybe I'm presuming that's the case, but probably maybe that would happen and maybe not have as much of an exposure to a runaway jury system like we have here. But I feel like, that part of law is so, dependent upon your relationship with the judge and with the court. I think it's important to have, one up here and one down there.
Right. Yeah.
Even if you're able to do both. Have you ever appeared and litigated in a Mexican court?
Not since I became licensed.
Yes. At the very beginning.
Yeah. So no.
Is it-
And I don't. It's very different. Let me say that.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. It's very, very different. And I have a group of trusted attorneys throughout Mexico, great colleagues that I believe they're competent. I believe they're honest. So when there's a case that I'm handling that requires local counsel in Mexico, I know who to call or the client refer the client to. I give a couple of options so the client can make that decision, and then we'll coordinate. But yeah, I mean, my perception is that the defendants want to have the cases tried in Mexico.
For sure.
And the plaintiffs want to have their cases tried here in California. And it happens also in the family law arena. That's my perception. The outspouse, meaning the spouse who doesn't have access to information and the assets and the wealth, they're better, fighting for the rights here in California. And the in-spouse, the one who controls the information, all of that, wants to litigate outside of California, probably in Mexico or somewhere else. And, forum non-convenience, because of my cross-border practice, is an area of the law that I know a little bit about.
Sure.
And I've had the pleasure of representing, I think, primarily males from France, Finland, Spain, Israel, Hong Kong, whose spouses have filed for divorce here in California,
Yes.
and I've been retained to have the cases moved to have them dismissed or stay in the forum non-convenience, and we've been successful. There's merit, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. And
The marriage is entered into there.
Right, but they definitely don't want to litigate their divorces here in California.
No. How about this? I have like a very common scenario. I must get like probably, I'll say 2 to 3 of these calls a month. And it goes like this. I don't know if you ever heard of this situation. Hey, my wife and I, we traveled down to Cancun. We stayed at X and X Resort. They screwed this up, and my wife got terribly hurt, because they didn't, I don't know, the window fell out or there's a stairwell or something. But they marketed it to us in California. And so, hey, can we bring a case in California against this negligent resort located in Mexico for my wife's injury in Mexico? And so, I feel like that happens a fair amount.
I get those calls as well, especially, being from over there.
Right.
Like, we're the attorneys that they know here, so they call us.
Yeah.
They happen often.
All the time.
Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, all the big resort
And it's
places.
nothing against the resorts there. They just happen to be in Mexico.
Sure. Sure.
We get the same calls for places here, but so what law applies there?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a minimum context, right?
Yeah.
It becomes a personal jurisdiction.
We're going back to law school.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Law school that I didn't go to, but
international shoe, right?
Yes, international shoe and a specific jurisdiction, and was that marketing intended to the citizens for jurisdictional purposes of California, and does that justify the exercise of jurisdiction? Is it reasonable? Maybe it is. Maybe it is. You have to see the intentionality of the marketing efforts, and but there's also those defendants, I think, have a very strong
forum
non-convenience. So even if
you can get
the court has jurisdiction, the most convenient forum is Mexico because my assets are there, the accident occurred there, the records are there. In the past, before the pandemic and the Zoom, video conferences and all of that, it was easier to argue. All the witnesses are there. Now the courts are less reluctant to. Well, I mean, counsel they can testify, they can appear, virtually. But still, I guess which law applies? Choice of law.
There you go.
Choice of law.
Number 3.
Choice
This
of
is
law.
a law school exam.
Choice of law.
Well, he's a professor.
Thank you. Choice of law, and that's a tough one.
That's the death knell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For the plaintiff.
Right.
Yes.
And so I think that the defendants do have a good argument on forum non-convenience, and that I think is going to be it can be an uphill battle.
Highly difficult, right?
Right.
I have a question. Now that you talked about remote stuff, so for a lot of us, COVID and the lack of ability to have in-person meetings or maybe hearings really changed a little bit of the practice of law. More and more depositions, by video conference, more and more meetings by video conference. But I'm wondering for you in particular, your whole life and practice is cross-border with a bunch of international clients. Maybe did you before have to travel all the time and now you get to travel less, or how has that all affected you?
Well, I started using Zoom regularly.
Before it was cool?
Before it was cool in 2014 when I started teaching civil procedure at the LLM in Spanish at Cal Western.
Oh, so you were a master when COVID was.
Yes. They're all remote,
right? So the program, I think right now the program is there's 1 week in person or two weeks in person at the beginning of the program of the school year, and then 1 or 2 weeks after the end of the school year. But all the classes were remote and continue to be remote. So I was used to Zoom. I didn't have Zoom meetings with the clients, right? Before COVID, but I was familiar with the program, with the software. Yes, my traveling was reduced once we become used to communicate virtually through those platforms. There's nothing like one-on-one contact. I mean, for important meetings, I handled a massive divorce case in LA for 3 years. There were like 7 law firms in a divorce case. Wow. 7 law firms involved for both sides and whatnot. And there were powwows in Monterrey, where co-counsel from LA and I traveled to meet with co-counsel in Monterrey and the client for those important meetings. And I think not only to discuss the importance of the meeting, the substance of the meeting, but also it's not the same having that physical contact with the client. You can feel the client can feel you, how interested, invested you are in the case, in the matter, how informed you are. That feeling is not transmitted through those virtual conferences. But before coming today for the podcast, I had some conference with a client from Spain in a potential international divorce case, and yes, it is super easy, right? We don't have to travel. Course, yes. I mean, I would love to go to Spain.
Exactly.
But yeah, so extremely convenient. It does reduce the traveling. Yeah.
What about? I'm just like thinking about all the different, inflections and in different, differences. Is there a difference in terms of courting or attempting to acquire business of, say, for example, a Mexican-based business? You've got, say, a company that's down in Mexico City. Mm-hmm. Do they so in the old days they would say, oh, if you want to, do business with the Japanese, you have to go and you have to drink and you have to do this and don't talk about business too fast. Is there a process like that when it comes to, today's Mexican businessman or Mexican business interest?
I think it's about relations. I think the relations are important. I mean, I'm about to be 50 years old this August, and I'm very young, right?
Yeah, very young.
Very, very young.
That's nothing, kid.
Yes, exactly.
You're looking good. You look like
my
age.
Good, man.
Thank you. It's the water I drink at home. My wife's Kool-Aid. And so people now, you start getting the calls, right?
Yeah, of course.
The referrals from because you're representing clients for many years.
Long-term investment
right,
also.
Exactly. Right. But I think the relations still is what matters for the business people. I don't think I'm not sure whether the marketing is as effective with respect to business people than the relations. That's just my perception. Some colleagues from other law firms ask me, so how do you get your clients? Most of my clients are referred by attorneys in Mexico or clients who I currently represent or have represented.
Right.
And those attorneys in Mexico who refer me clients know me because I either taught them, right? I've been at their speaking engagements. They've been to my speaking engagements like Pilar and so forth. So there has been some relationship,
Yes.
right? I don't do a lot of marketing.
Per se.
Per se.
You do.
Yes, sure, exactly, right.
You
Per
do
se.
you do a lot of colleague to colleague, business to business marketing.
Yes.
A lot of
yes.
outreach, from what I saw in your profile, it's outreach, being present,
Ton of talks.
going to Mexico City, going to Tijuana, getting involved with, the leaders in that community.
Thank you.
business
Yes.
people.
Great. Yeah. Thank you for correcting me. Exactly. That is the type of marketing that I do through speaking engagements. That has been perhaps the most successful way for me to reach out to people, and the type of clients that that require my services. And I have to admit, there's some cases, some clients, potential clients, that I wish to represent them, but they don't have the means. They don't have the means to retain me, retain Procopio, and that's very unfortunate. And I think that's access to justice. I don't want to go political here, but access to justice is a problem because of the cost of hiring a competent attorney. And there's also some cases that the damages at issue don't justify paying me, paying Procopio a certain retainer, that is the minimum deposit that we ask. And there have been some clients who say, "Hey, Adrian, I don't care. We want to retain you. You highly recommend it. You explain that it's going to be more expensive than it doesn't make financial sense to hire Procopio to have you represent us, and we're willing to do that." And I push back because I'm thinking about the client.
Right.
I'm not thinking about me or Procopio making money. That's not why clients hire me, right? They're hiring me because they want me to put them in a better situation than the one they are before retaining me. So yeah, it's but that comment is linked to my other thought on my presentations and outreach are targeting certain clients,
Right.
whether individual or businesses. Yeah.
And this is me picking Adrian's brain here.
Yeah.
So I know you're involved with ANADE, Baja California, right?
Yes.
And maybe ANADE Mexico. And so I actually spoke to the president of ANADE Baja California because, we have a big expansion going on right now. And
The current one?
So the current
Maria
president.
Luisa?
Yes, Maria Luisa. So
Superb attorney.
so I spoke with her. She invited me to an event. But for example, for us, we do tort law in the U.S.
Yes.
And we try to assist a lot of these people coming into the U.S. and, they need our services here.
Yes.
But I know now that it's very business focused. Would it make, for example, sense for us, Gomez Law attorneys, go in and let's say meet with them, go to these events, just to be that well-known, prominent attorney from San Diego representing Tijuana people?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm not the smartest guy in terms of client development. Let's start. That's the starting point before I answer your question. Okay. I'm of the mindset of the more people you know, the better. That's in general. So I'm a consultant for the Mexican consulate, a legal consultant. So I get referred individuals who need legal advice, and even if I cannot help, represent them because they cannot retain me, I put them in a better position that they were before they call me. And that's how I got my first case ever, my first originated case, and we can talk about that in a minute if you want. So the more people you know, the better. Yes, ANADE is more business oriented, okay? But businesses also have people, right? And those people get injured, and then
Or they get divorced.
Or they get divorced. And so you never know where the next client is coming from.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's and we'll talk about, if you want, about my first case, okay? My first originated case. But for example, Barra Mexicana, that's another national association, is is more diverse with respect to all the areas of the law that they cover, right? So perhaps you may get more bang for your buck in terms of spending more time in their with their members and their organization and whatnot. But I go back to my second comment about this. The more people you know, the better, and you want to be in their mind. So it's a lot of investment. Generating clients, becoming a rainmaker requires a lot of work and effort, because you have to be in the people's mind. Because when you get to meet someone the first time or the second time or third time, maybe they don't need an attorney at the time they met you.
Right.
So if you met some person and you connected and whatnot, and then 6 months pass and that person has a legal problem, if they don't remember you, they won't call you. So you have to be in their mind constantly. Well, you go for ANADE, for Barra, you go to their quarterly meetings, their annual meetings. And by the way, their members are fantastic. You learn a lot. But it's also the networking.
Yeah, the relationships.
The relationships. And so you have to be present in their minds. That's kind of my very long-winded answer to your question.
Seems like John and I were going to be spending some time in Tijuana and Mexico, ANADE, all these orgs.
Barra Mexicana, and ANADE, great organizations. There's another one. I don't know if they have a chapter in Baja California, Ilustre Colegio. But they're a great organization. And their annual meetings, man, ANADE is fantastic. Very family-oriented, very warm, you know. And we litigators we want action, right, all the time. We're thinking about the next skin that you're going to carry, right? But also, ANADE has that warmth feeling as well. So it's a good mix of people, yeah.
So he teased us on it. He teased us about it like at least twice.
Yeah.
So you're working at the consulate. You get your first case.
Yeah. Okay. Only because you asked for it.
No, I know. We want to hear about it.
So, but I mean, it is related to the more people you know. You never know when where the next case is coming from. So I joined Branton & Wilson. I was learning the ropes and whatnot. And then I received a call from the receptionist, someone in Spanish. Nobody at Branton & Wilson spoke Spanish. None of the attorneys but me. So I pick up the call. And it was a lady, very nice lady. And we spent about less than an hour talking about a neighbor's cat, who was jumping on her balcony and killing her flowers, peeing on her flowers. And she wanted to kill the cat. So she wanted to know what would be the consequence of killing the cat, how to kill the cat, and not get caught. And I'm like, lady, you don't have to kill it. Please don't kill the cat. I mean, talk to your neighbor. I mean, you're going to get in trouble and whatnot. And so, again, I don't know, man. I was 28, 29. It was just after joining Procopio, maybe a year or so. And I didn't know anything, like now. So, maybe 4 months later, I get another call. And another Spanish-speaking person pick up the phone. And it involved a personal injury case where the gate from a garage door fell on someone and fractured a young lady's leg. So it was a good case. It was a good case.
Better than the cat case.
Definitely better than the cat case. So I was like super excited, right?
Yeah, of course.
It was my first case, so I started writing down all the information and whatnot. And I asked this lady, "Hey, man, who referred you to me?"
It was the cat lady.
It was the cat lady.
Wow, okay.
It was the cat lady. It was the cat lady. And unfortunately, people who know me already know this story, especially the younger crowd. But my message is, you don't know. Be kind, be patient with everyone, because you don't know when the next game is gonna come from.
That's a good lesson.
Yeah.
Well, you were a young guy. Well, like right now, if you get that call, do you talk to her for an hour about her cat?
Probably we'll cut it down after 20 minutes.
But still, that's pretty gracious.
But I feel like the fact that you're spending time, because that happens to me a lot too. They call me for all kinds of cases.
Right.
A lot of times, state, and then, okay, who we can guide them to, and then you're that source, you're that resource. I feel one of the good things that we're doing with, for example, the billboards, we're just saying we're attorneys. We're not saying what kind of attorneys we are.
Right.
But at least we want to be that resource.
Yes.
It seems like you're that resource for like your firm.
But yeah, I mean, for the consulate, and it's also about giving back to the community, right? And people call you they have serious problems for them, and they sound stressed and anxious, and you've been there, and you're gonna be there at yourself, right? And to the extent I cannot, when I say represent them, is they're not gonna retain me, and I'm gonna take on their case and represent them in court and take the case through all its phases. At least I want to give them some peace, valuable information, warn them about the most important issues when, like, taking the bar exam, vicious spotting, right? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? There are these other resources. Like I've done you know what, this is not a case that our firm is able to handle, but where you contact these law firms, reputable law firms, including Gomez, our sponsor, including Gomez. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you want to be a resource to people, because it's not about making money. We want to be paid for our work, right? But it's also to give back to those in need. And I think those 20-minute conversations with people talking about cats or whatnot, sometimes it's something more serious than a cat.
Yes.
Far more serious. And to the extent I can help people, because people have helped me. A lot of people have helped me to get to where I am. It's a pleasure.
And so we hear some advice so far. We hear, if you speak Spanish, continue to work on your Spanish. Language skills are important, to be patient and kind and to all, because you never know where a case is coming from, is important. To give back is important. What other advice do you have for, a younger, or even not so young, even an older listener, thinking about how can I have success in my field?
Yeah. 2 pillars, and this might sound a little bit repetitive. Conduct yourself with respect and effort. Respect yourself and respect others, right? And that's what I tell myself that every morning. I try to do my best to do that, and also effort. I mean, life is about effort, and the best things in life come through a lot of effort, and they do. I have witnessed it, and that sounds very superficial. But if you sit down and think about it, and each of us think about the things that we have actually achieved, if there was effort involved, the feeling of gratitude and value of that result is definitely more intense.
Agree.
And for those, I'm a member of the advisory board of the Crawford Law Academy. What I tell the younger crowd.
Is that affiliated with Crawford High School?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So Crawford High School, kind of a East San Diego, kind of, I would say, urban, socioeconomically challenged high school. Been around a long time in San Diego.
Yes. And I was very fortunate to be invited to the advisory board, and I've done some mentorship at Crawford High School, and also some we were part of the virtual internship program.
Oh, cool.
And it's an annual program for 4 to 6 weeks. We talk to high school students, seniors, about what we do at the law firm and whatnot. But what I tell them is, and the younger Mexico license attorneys who want to become licensed and practice in the U.S., what I tell them is, if Adrian Martinez, who is not very smart, okay, was able to pass the bar exam with studying hard, then anyone can do it. It's just about applying yourself, putting in the
discipline
effort.
and effort.
Yeah, discipline and effort. Yeah. That's kind of my. And you can tell my children have heard that story.
They've heard that
thousands
one.
of times, and they're just tired. Yes, Dad. Yes,
They know
effort,
discipline
respect,
and effort.
whatever.
Just be determined.
No, they listen. You don't think they're listening, intent. At least for my kids, my older kids, like they just thought I was, so full of hot air, But then they get to a point and you can tell,
And they realize he was telling the truth. Yeah.
I mean, a shout out to my son. He was admitted to UCSD.
Yeah, congratulations.
He's a great student, and my daughter, who's a freshman in high school, super dedicated. She wants to be an attorney.
Excellent.
Yeah, and good guys, good students, great kids, and they will listen eventually.
Yeah. And so, do either of them play flag football?
Yeah, well, my son did.
I saw you were like a coach.
I was a coach. Go Bears. Chicago Bears. People know I'm a huge Bears fan. And, it was maybe 2019. My son, one of the things we share is we watch football. I love American football. That's something I used to do with my father. While in Mexico, growing up, we was a Broncos fan.
I thought they were Cowboys.
Elway.
I thought they were Cowboys.
No, he was a John Elway. Huge Elway fan.
Everybody in Mexico was a Cowboys fan.
Or Steelers.
Or
Steelers, yeah.
For the kicker.
Yeah, exactly.
So he liked Elway.
He loved Elway.
Okay.
Yeah, he loved Elway, and so my son in 2019 he was in middle school at Nazareth School, and he told me, "Hey, Dad, we need a coach for flag football," and he had been talking about it for a while. So I thought it was a good opportunity to spend more time with him and get to know his classmates.
Yeah.
Man, if there's something I enjoy a lot practicing law. Probably the second thing I love the most is coaching younger kids, man.
Yeah.
And I love that. And the team was composed of very good athletes. Mm-hmm. And we went. So Nazareth's a Catholic school, so we played against other Catholic schools, middle schools, and we made it to the semifinal. And then we were torched by another school, and one of the things I realized that that game that we lost, semifinals, it was a high school size field, so it's wider.
Yeah.
It was far.
And you weren't used to that.
We weren't used to that. So then we had the COVID in 2020. In 2021, when my son was last year of middle school, they invited me to coach again, okay? And I accepted. And I made them run in preparation for the season.
Yeah.
And everybody hated me. Actually, my son told me, "Dad, you're being too tough on us. Everybody's now being tough on me. Why is your dad, trying to crucify us, whatnot?" You're going to see why.
At the end of the season.
Yeah.
We won it all. We were the champions. We were invited to play the championship at St. Augustine's. At Saints Field.
Yeah, of course.
And we won it all. It was one of the biggest achievements. Watching these young men doing their best and putting all the effort and believing in themselves, and seeing in their eyes that we could win it all, and trusting themselves. And I think that game is on YouTube. So if you want to watch it, I'll send you the link, man.
Send it over.
Yeah. That's the effort thing. You get more satisfaction from things that we put effort into. They trained hard, ran hard all season, and there you go. They were probably at the end, you were pretty popular.
Yes, everywhere I went in school, "Hey, coach," that was great. And obviously, I spent more time with my son, which was fantastic.
For sure.
And that was great. So it was a great experience. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good place to end, with the championship.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it can't get any better
winner.
than that. And, we heard about discipline and effort. Those are two really important things to me. And I think they're simple things, but they're super effective and I think provide a lot of guidance. So thank you to you for sharing your incredible story, Adriana. Like that, just this kid down in Mexico can like dream of coming up here, and say, hey, I'm going to give it a go. And then not even have the funds to go to law school up here, to do a graduate program, study on your own, get in. That's discipline and effort to find. So congratulations, how incredible, that you were able to do everything that you've been able to do. And so it's an honor for us to have you on the podcast. Look forward to all kinds of things to come, including, just Monday, we're going to spend some great time with you and a great program that you put together. So thank you so much for sharing your time with us today.
No, thank you. And my final comment is all those great things that I've achieved. There were a lot of people behind me and next to me, pushing me, pulling me, supporting me, just like people like you, John, who gave me the opportunity, from my parents to my teachers to whoever. And that's why I'm eager to help others, because that's what people has done for me. So, and thank you so much for having me. It has been a pleasure. I enjoy very much the conversations. As we know, Hispanics tend to be very, very verbose, and I wasn't the exception. That's why my answers were very long-winded, but it is a pleasure to be with you and associated with your firm.
No, the answers were perfect. And so if people want to find out more about you, get in contact with you, how would they find you?
Yeah, my email address is Adrian, that's my first name, .Martinez, my last name, with a Z at the end, @procopio.com. And you can also find my firm's information at procopio.com.
Awesome. And so just so our viewers know, what are the span of services that Procopio provides, and how big is that law firm?
Yeah, the firm is just under 200 attorneys. We are a full service firm. I think it's easier to say which areas of the law we don't do, right? Criminal law, workers' comp, immigration. I think that's for the most part what we don't do. And we, with some exceptions, I would say we're kind of business oriented. In the sense, for example, the labor and employment team represents employers. But employees are very well represented by law firms like yours, John.
Yes.
And so on. There's some other areas like mine, family law, and commercial litigation, business litigation, will represent the plaintiff or the defendant, depending on the circumstances. Yeah.
Amazing. So who knows, maybe you get a case or two out of this, or at least a contact or two.
Yeah, of course.
And so thank you for being here. Thank you as always, David.
Of course.
So like after listening to all that and all the relationships that he's made by virtue of, being an adjunct professor, which way are you leaning?
So I was already interested in it. And I think one of the interesting things is the fact that it's taught in Spanish.
Yes.
So to me, that would be great because, again,
virtual, you can do it from the house.
I can do it from the house early morning, 7 to 9 a.m., I believe.
I brought the contract, so he can sign it right now.
Oh, good. He came here to recruit you. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely sounding very interesting, but I'll definitely, talk to you more on that because it definitely piqued my interest.
Awesome. Well, we'll see. We'll see if this podcast has led to 2 jobs for you.
It's a good source of income.
Yeah. Yeah, but in the meanwhile, if you like what you heard, please subscribe, please share.
Wait, John, also
Come
traba.
on. Huh?
Also traba question.
Oh, I know what he's going to say, though. So have you ever listened to Cracks, the podcast with Osotava?
I know who he is.
Yeah.
My mom loves him. I haven't seen him.
Okay, but anyways, at the end of the
podcast,
he always asks the guests, if you were able to write in the sky words for everyone to see, what would your message to the world be?
It's a message, one word or a message?
However you want to do it. Anything. Guidance, wisdom, message.
would say, let us respect each other.
I like it. Let us respect each other. Muy bien. I thought it might be discipline, effort, but I like respect. I think that falls into that same, trilogy of like sort of very important guiding posts. So I think if we have discipline, effort, and respect, you got it all. So thank you, my friend. It's been an honor. And so, folks, if you like what you heard today, please share, please like, please comment, please look us up. We are all in this to help each other and to get better every day. It's been a privilege and a pleasure. So this is it for this episode of the Lawtino podcast. Signing off.